So far away, Lucas. What's your favourite moment from the Nolan trilogy?
Maybe it's just when Batman buys an entire restaurant to be a dickhead.
I was not expecting that answer. Christopher Nolan is a filmmaker who generally insists on realising as many of the stunts in his films as possible via the use of practical effects. An ethos that resulted in Nolan supervising the first and perhaps only truck suplex ever seen in film.
I mean, you've got to be talking about the giant truck flip in The Dark Knight, right?
Yes, I am. The scene which is sandwiched between perhaps my favourite shots in The Dark Knight, besides, the one we're talking about today, of a truck being suplexed. And they are the shots of Heath Ledger Joker pouring hot sauce on the scenery and gnawing on them. Because, man, did that guy have fun making that film. Because there are those weird dark rumours online that him playing the Joker got to him too much, isn't there?
Yeah, the fact that he, method acted to the point that it drove him insane.
Yeah, which isn't true. Heath Ledger was a method actor. He was, very committed to the role of the Joker. And he did reportedly lock himself in a hotel room for a couple of weeks to get into the mind of the Joker. By which I mean he just read a bunch of comic books.
Yeah.
And then he took very extensive notes because, believe it or not, folks at home, Oscar-winning actor Heath Ledger was a good fucking actor and he wanted to play the role properly because he knew how iconic the Joker was. And it's kind of disrespectful to his memory to be like, yeah, the Joker drove him insane. It's like, no, the Joker's a comic book character. Heath Ledger was just a good fucking actor and wanted to do the best he could. It's so amazing that we have Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker directly followed by Jared Leto's.
Oh, God.
And the thing about Jared Leto is he similarly is a method actor and got into the role of the Joker, but he did it wrong.
I heard about all the weird, crazy stuff he was doing to his crewmates.
Yes, and that's because he was trying to get into the mind of the Joker, and he was method acting by being a dick to his co-stars, doing things such as sending his co-stars used condoms, which in addition to being disgusting, shows that Jared Leto did not understand the Joker at all, because the Joker is a completely non-sexual character.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the best lines from the Joker is when he just completely stonewalls Harley when she's like, Mr. J, do you not want to just bang your hot, clown chick girlfriend? He's like, no, I want to fuck with Batman.
Oh, come on, Puddin'. Don't you want to rev up your Harley? Vroom, vroom.
And one of my favourite things about Jared Leto's method acting, and there'll be a fact bar below some of the weird things he did to his castmates, is that he did it to everybody on set except for the lady playing Amanda Waller, because her husband found out and told Jared Leto, I will fuck you up if you mess with my wife. and Lucas, doesn't it sound like a very Joker thing to do, to coward the fuck out when he's threatened?
There's one thing the Joker's known for, and it's being really scared of getting beaten up.
Yeah, he gets beaten up every week by Batman. He loves it.
So how much of that truck flip is actually real then?
All of it is a real truck on a real street that is really being flipped the fuck over. And folks at home are probably thinking, well, that's insane. That must have taken a long time to figure out, and it did. But here's the weird part. It's like flipping the truck was actually the easiest part of realising that stunt.
What do you mean the truck flip was the easy part?
Well, it's because, Hollywood pyrotechnics and effects, they know how to destroy or blow up or flip a car. That is pretty standard fare for a Hollywood's effects team. The problem is that Christopher Nolan insists on doing almost everything for real, which meant that he wanted to do it on a real street, which meant that they had to flip the truck perfectly without damaging anything else, because they actually filmed it on a real street in Chicago, which meant that the street they were filming on had real buildings on either side, and I believe there were banks, which meant that they realistically had one chance to get the stunt right, because if the truck didn't flip all the way over on the first try, it would go careening through the facade of a nearby building. So what they did is they got an effects crew and they went to, oddly enough, the same place they filmed the hospital explosion, which we've talked about on the channel before, and was another stunt they accomplished for real, and was an actual building scheduled for a demolition that Christopher Nolan just went, well, can I film that? Can I just put Nurse Heath Ledger in front of it and just walk around? Like, yeah, sure. We'll let you film us blowing up a real building. So they went to like the car park of that building and practiced with some other trucks. And I love the idea. They had practice trucks. And according to the effects crew, getting the truck to flip over was actually pretty simple and was accomplished via a combination of a giant air piston and a judicious application of TNT. And then they reinforced the connection between the cab and the trailer so that when the trailer went up, the rest of the truck went with it.
My two guys on it, and they built the biggest piston ever I've ever seen in my life in the back of this truck. And then some other guys that reinforced the driver's cab. I've never seen so much steel in a cab in all my life protecting this guy.
And there's like behind the scenes footage of them doing it, and they did it on like their first try. Like, wow, that was easy. Just whoop, duh.
I couldn't believe my eyes. You know, it had to go over straight, and it literally deviated off course by no more than 6 inches.
And that to me is just incredible.
Oh yeah.
Like, they went, oh, we've got a solution here, let's try it out, we'll figure it out first turn. And it reminds me a little bit of that James Bond moment, if you're familiar with it, in one of like the new Daniel Craig ones. They got given an actual real Aston Martin from the company due to the legacy of James Bond and the history the two brands have. But they couldn't figure out how to flip it because the Aston Martin was too safe. Because, oddly enough, a lot of car manufacturers put a lot of money in to make sure their cars don't roll over. And they couldn't figure out how to make the car flip over. So what they did is they got an air piston, and the guy inside the car, because it was being driven by a stunt driver, had a button he would press like someone in Fast and Furious that would make the car flip over, which resulted in the car flipping over about 15 fucking times, which ended up setting a record for most car flips. And there's a real guy inside the car.
Yeah,
That's what cracks me up. Like, there's a real dude in it. He's like, yeah, it's great. I love it. Similarly, with The Dark Knight, believe it or not, that truck actually had someone driving it when it flipped over.
Fuck off.
There is a real guy inside. A guy called Jim Wilkie, a seasoned Hollywood badass. And he, similarly, had to press the button that would activate all the stuff that was going to flip it. But it gets just a little bit more insane. So as mentioned, this stunt was filmed on a real street, and the buildings flanking the street were banks. And banks have underground vaults and things like that. And a lot of sensitive stuff that is stored underneath the street itself. And when I said realising how to flip the truck was the easiest part of this stunt, I wasn't kidding, because when the crew learned this and got the plans for the street, they realised there was literally one spot on this quarter mile of road where they could actually flip the truck. And I shit you not, Lucas, have you got the original article in front of you now?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, just scroll down and look at what the crew used to mark where Wilkie had to press the button that will flip the truck.
So it's a blue X on the road made out of like
Duct tape.
Looks like sticky tape
Yeah.
or duct tape or whatever, yeah. And it's the size of maybe about 2 hands lengths.
Yeah, it's about this big, I'd say, and it's in the middle of a road, and they filmed the shot at night, remember, and Wilkie was driving a truck at 30 miles an hour, so he's like a good 10 feet in the air, in a truck cab that's filled with all the stuff that's going to keep him alive. He has to concentrate on everything else, but then he has to spot this tiny little X on the floor, and that's when he had to press the button. And if he pressed it at any other point, it would go through the street itself. That was what he was told.
It's hard enough to see that blue X on the picture, let alone from a 30 miles an hour truck.
Yeah, and then keep in mind as well, he has to do that and keep his hand on the button and on the wheel, and focus on not dying when the truck flips upside down.
Jesus.
Oh, it's great. I love it. The Dark Knight trilogy has just some incredible set pieces in it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
And just knowing so many of them were accomplished, for real, makes them so much more impressive. We talked about the hospital explosion, we talked about the truck flip today. And I think Nolan in general, as mentioned, he just really liked practical effects. He hates having to use CGI. And there's loads of examples like the Inception hallway scene was a real hallway that just rotated. Or do you like the scene where Leonardo DiCaprio realises in a dream and then the entire world explodes? That was also accomplished without CGI, and they really just sat him down in front of a storefront that exploded, and they had these giant air cannons. So do you have any favourite stunts from movies that were accomplished for real?
Well, the ones that always blow my mind are looking back at like silent movies where it's like
Buster Keaton
Charlie
days.
Chaplin and Buster Keaton doing their own stunts in real time.
And they had
It's
one
insane.
chance.
They had one shot and no safety equipment, and they're like, "Fuck it, let's go."
Yeah, like the iconic one is, of course, Buster Keaton getting hit by the facade of a house when it collapses. I believe we've mentioned on the channel before, the story behind that is Buster Keaton was severely depressed at the time, and there were genuine worries that he was going to use that stunt as an excuse to commit suicide.
Fucking hell.
And half the crew did not turn up that day because they were that worried that he was going to die. And you can see if you watch the clip back that the facade of the house hits his arm as it goes over him and he doesn't react. Because he doesn't give a fuck. It actually just hits him as it goes down. It's like, Jesus, Buster. It's like watching the credits of Jackie Chan films and seeing how often he injures himself trying to do stunts.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see him do like the same stunt 3 times and injure himself each time and go, okay, get up and do it again.
Yeah.
Like, the one that gets me, it's not even the one that hurts the most, it's just the one that makes me go, oh, is, I forget what film it is now, but it's the one where he has the ladder fight. Like, he's having a fight with a ladder. Oh, there's something about that really gets me, and I don't like it.
I've just looked it up for people that want to know. That's from First Strike, apparently.
Yeah, because that's the one where he stays in the most swag hotel room ever. Because in that film, he goes to Australia, and in his hotel, they just give him an ensuite koala. Like, he's just in his hotel room. There's like a little tree with a koala on it, and that's just in his room.
That's okay now. Huh? Really, I'm not making this up.
And I want to know if that's real, because I want to go to that hotel just to hear them explain it. It's like, yes, sir, the suite comes with all the amenities that you'd expect. You've got the bathroom through there, bed, hot tub outside, and of course, your koala. It's like, now what? We got a hot tub outside. What's the other one? You've got a bathroom.
Does that mean, like, when you go and take the shampoos back home with you, stuff them
Take
in
the
your suitcase, you take the koala?
Just put the little koala in your bag. It's just, the idea of the ensuite koala is so fucking funny to me. I want more things to have them. I want, like, more hotel rooms to have just the ensuite pet. It's like that, there's the hotels that can, like, oh, we've got fish downstairs if you feel lonely. We can put a fish in your room. It's like, yeah, I want that. The ensuite koala, it's great.